So Frank, are there any amusing or peculiar stories you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, we've had some funny vacations in the past. One that comes to mind was when our kids were like 10 or 11 years old, and we rented an RV from a neighbor up the street and decided to travel up to Banff, Canada for about a 2 or 3 week vacation. So we packed up our clothes and prepared how to run the RV, do all the hookups, and just before we left, I decided to pick a bunch of plums off my tree in the backyard because it was in July and they all kind of come around, ripen around July. So I went out in the backyard and picked every plum I could find and put it in a box and put it in the RV, and off we went on our trip. We headed out and went up on Interstate 5 in California as far as we could. I think we actually got into Oregon the first night and stopped at Crater Lake and took a look around there, and we had our lunch and ate some plums on that part of the trip, and not too many, but just a few. And then the next day we headed out north again, further up, and we eventually got up to the border in Washington, the border between Canada and the United States. And there was a huge line of cars and other RVs waiting to get into Canada, and so we had to kind of wait our turn. One car at a time. You drive a little bit and stop, and drive a little bit and stop. And so we decided to, have a little bite to eat. And then we noticed a sign along the side there for instructions how to get through the border. And one of the signs said that certain fruits and vegetables and flowers cannot be brought into Canada. You'll have to throw them away in the dumpster when you get to the end. So we decided, well, we're not going to throw away our plums. I mean, they were really good plums and right off the tree and fresh. And so we decided, all 6 of us, my in-laws and my 2 kids and my wife and I, to eat the plums before we got to the end of the line. We doled out the plums, and I had a few plums and moved a couple cars ahead, and then we'd stop again and ate some more plums, and all 6 of us were eating these plums in the box. And as we get closer to the front, we had eaten more plums and more plums. We finally got to the end of the line, and the inspector came over and knocked on the door, and we opened up the door to the RV, and he came in and asked us a few questions about where we were going and what we're doing, and if we had anything to declare, like fruits and vegetables and so forth. And I said to him, I says, well, we've got this box of plums. We had a whole box, but we've eaten most of them up because we didn't want to have to throw them away when we got here to this end of the line. And the inspector kind of smiled and looked around at all 6 of us in the van and said, well, plums are okay. You can actually take plums into Canada, but not some other vegetables. And we thought, oh man, we've been eating all these plums for nothing. And we didn't. And then we had a second thought. Oh no, now we're going to pay for this, eating all these plums. We can just envision ourselves standing in front of the porta potty in the RV for the next day and a day or so, trying to take care of that problem. So anyway, that's the story of our plums in our trip to Canada.
That's a great story. Thanks, Frank.